I have here with me Akhilesh Majumdar. Welcome, Akhilesh.
Hi, thanks, Bala. Pleasure to be here.
Akhilesh is a very, very unique entrepreneur in his own right. The first time I came across him, his company was USA's #1 virtual staging company. Now, I didn't know what virtual staging was. I went and looked it up. But for the audience, you want to tell us what that is?
Yes, the real estate search process, I believe, and my co-founders believe, is where dreams go to die. The process starts with you wanting to envision a new lifestyle, really. But as soon as you get engaged in the dreadfully efficient process, number of rooms, location, neighborhood, school, square footage, reality hits quite literally. Way too soon in the process. Dreams die. And the problem is that scene is the room that holds us back. An empty room remains empty in our mind. A barren backyard just remains barren and unappealing. We are rarely able to see beyond the obviously visible.
Yes, it's very much true. My own experience as well. I see floor plans.
Mine too. Absolutely. Which is what triggered, our movement to, form StyleDod. My co-founders and me, we thought that access to interior design should be instant, should be automated, should be a democratic right for everyone. Unless, people spend a lot of money for interior designers, they don't really have access. And it really hampers the whole dreaming process, and imagine the impact it has on commerce as a result. So,
absolutely.
So that's StyleDod, and that's what we do in virtual staging. You just input the photo of your empty room or furnished room, select a few style, and instantly see it reimagined.
Wow.
And tomorrow, see it reimagined with real products you could buy.
Wow. So I'm going to ask you to unpack that. But before that, let's talk about the name StyleDod.
Yeah. So the name StyleDod came from this very specific idea of democratizing a design, where StyleDod stands for stylish designs on demand. It represents a combination of the design thinking and the technological edge that is actually required to bring together and bring this vision to reality. So that's StyleDod.
Phenomenal. So let's go back to the product itself. So let's say I am a real estate agent in California or wherever in the US.
Yeah.
I come to StyleDod. What do I do? How do I use it?
Sure. California is actually our largest market. And if you are an agent from California, you will actually see styles which are relevant to your state. So you just come in as an agent, you upload a bunch of photos of the property, select your preferences in terms of what styling you want, what kind of customer profile you want to present it to, and just press a button, and the rest is done and delivered to you. We have both manual and AI assisted services. If you are in a mood for DIY, you can use the tool on your own, or our editors, our contractors use it and deliver it for you. But it's seamless. We are the only people who actually allow you to do multi-styling, because you don't really have to then show one solution to all kind of clients. If it's an Indian immigrant family in San Francisco versus a Chinese immigrant family, their nuances, tastes will be very different. And as a realtor, you modify every bit of your presentation to suit your client, except for the visual imageries where you get stuck. We unlock that. And that is actually the biggest visual power of selling in real estate, photos and imagery. So we allow that and empower agents to do that.
Brilliant. Tell me about AI. What was life like, before AI, and if and how AI has changed your business?
Actually, real estate, even in the US, has always been known as a laggard for technological adoption. It has always been slow. People have always said, the average agent is like a 56-year-old soccer mom. Right? And it's been true, except for I am stunned, and a lot of my brethren are, at the pace at which generative AI is being adopted in real estate. All agents in US and Europe, all use ChatGPT for their presentations, emails, communications, and everything. But it's not just the agents. The large enterprises, which usually take ages to make a move on technologies, especially those technologies that are not mere back-end processes, but actual customer front-ending, reputation affecting experiences. So Redfin, that's one of the largest brokerages and classifieds, recently launched a consumer experience where now when you are searching for properties in redfin.com, you can actually change the flooring and the walls with real paints and real flooring and see how it would look once you were to move it into that.
That's phenomenal.
Similarly, realtor.com is the second largest classified, now has an ability for you to just type in a description of your dream home. They will generate beautiful photos, and then based on the photos you like, they will recommend real properties.
Almost the other way around, right?
Yeah.
You look for properties.
Yeah. Almost the other way around. And all of this, these kind of changes, which are consumer-facing changes, have been very, very slow, usually in the real estate industry. Here, they are happening with technologies which are not even mature right now. I mean, another example is that MLSs, multiple listing services, which are known to be, one of the slowest adopters of technologies, right? If you will actually open the listing input form of an MLS, it would tend to have about 1,200 attributes and fields to be filled in manually. And it would look like a Windows 95 platform.
I don't even know. Most people in this listening
Yeah,
know what that is.
Yeah. These guys are now actively willing to completely transform the way the listing is created in the first place. They're asking agents to drop in a bunch of photos, then our algorithms analyze and pre-populate everything. And they also sell all our other reimagine home services by saying that, hey, this room, it is the best photo of the living room. However, it's dark. It's been taken with a tilted camera. Press a button, I'll improve it. While you're at it, there is someone's face visible from outside that window. Press a button, we'll remove that, right? And now that we've converted this into a nice place, why keep it empty? Let's furnish it. Now that we've furnished it, why don't we show a nice video walkthrough of it? That's possible now, image to video gen. And the possibilities are endless, but it's all across presentation of listings, back-end efficiency, unique user experiences which erstwhile were impossible. So all of this adoption is happening all across suddenly at the same time in US real estate, which to me, I had never expected.
Absolutely, yeah. I lived in the US for a while, and
Yeah.
real estate industry is like a total laggard.
Yeah.
You mentioned a few things here. Let's talk about your own thing, what you did with Reimagine Homes.
Yeah.
I went and used the service, but I would love for you to describe it and what kind of traction it had once you launched it.
Sure. We launched our first rudimentary version about 8 months ago.
So is it available for everybody?
Yes, it is available for everybody at reimaginehome.ai.
Is it free?
It is a freemium model. In fact, for the first 7.5 months, it was completely free. We have added a paywall only about 3 weeks ago. The reason for that is because we needed to learn a lot more. It had unanticipated traction. So in 8 months, we went from 0 to 1.3 million registered users who created over 25 million designs. They were from 190 countries, so all across the world, all languages.
How would it work? What did people do?
It was very straightforward. It was for furnished spaces. So you just click a photo, upload it. It will automatically identify what kind of space it is.
So like a living room?
Yeah. Living room, bedroom,
kitchen,
even an office, kitchen, bathroom, right? And patio, external, exterior areas, swimming pools. And it will automatically identify what's in the photo. It will automatically suggest how you could, make it wonderful. And then you just select what suggestion you want in terms of styling, colors, materials, and it will keep on showing you instant reimagination of that whole space, where the space won't change. And this is where Reimagine Home, went really viral because of this initially. We were the only ones who initially were doing what is called in-painting. So it was very popular that you upload a photo and, there were a lot of services who would give you a nice photo back. The room would look similar, but it won't be same. That's not only a cognitive dissonance creator, it is also a regulatory problem in the US. You can't misrepresent the architectural elements of a house. You can, however, play with the furnishings and the furniture and the decor. So that's what it used to do. And as we learned over the last 8 months of the profile of people who were actually using it repeatedly, which was a fairly small percentage, we realized that more than the common public, it's actually the professionals, the ones who we thought will feel threatened by it, are actually the ones who are using it. So not only real estate agents, but photographers, marketing companies, landscape contractors, plumbers, right, for showing tiling options in the bathroom to their clients. And so we realized that all these people are coming for very micro use cases at a time, which these generic foundation models do not yet allow to do that seamlessly. So we broke the whole thing down, sliced and diced it, and came out with the 20 solutions that actually form the whole universe of what professionals actually use.
It would be some examples
For example, virtually staging a empty room, redesigning a furnished room, emptying out a furnished room, completely removing all the furniture, changing the floor, changing the walls. And I'm saying not just the wall colors, adding wainscoting, adding cornice, adding moldings, right? Then in the kitchen, there are a lot of edits that people do, changing the backsplash. Now, these are not the kind of things that's normally very easy to do, because you need to actually pixel perfect point out where the backsplash is. Nobody does that.
Correct.
So we developed ways in which you just hover over it, it will automatically select it.
Nice.
And then you can just press a button and say, okay, I want a tile here, or no, give me something else. So those were some of the use cases. Again, for exteriors, we realized that based on our 1.0, agent said that, look, you completely make the exterior too wonderful. And we believe that will scare our clients away, because they think, and we are like, wow, this is like you're doing a great job, but we're doing too good a job. So we actually trained, fine-tuned some of those exterior models to now produce more realistic, mellowed down, but still manicured versions of lawns.
Wow.
So it's basically these kind of things that Reimagine Home now puts together. There's a 7-day free trial for anyone. And after that also, there is a monthly quota that you get for free.
I know the primary audience is outside of India, but can Indians also use it?
Oh yes, the primary audience right now is mostly in US, Europe, Australia, but we are building features into it which will allow us to programmatically, without explicitly coding, modify that experience and that pricing to all sorts of geographies and audiences. Let me spell out what that really means. It means that if a user from India is using it, he will see that India kind of jargon, that India kind of language. Like, we will still call it a master bedroom and not a primary bedroom. I mean, perhaps a very politically incorrect example, but yeah, so it will make those kind of changes, and also the pricing will be more PPP based. But right now, I believe these are still early days for us, also for users. It's one thing to say that the novelty of AI dies very fast nowadays, which is absolutely true. But on the other hand, that hard work which is required to truly understand how people are using a product, what tweaks will make their journey easier and better, there's no shortcut to that. So we got to do it the right way. And
so you have a unique model of AI helping, but somebody wants a human designer also. That option is there, which will work very well from India. So one of the themes that we are seeing at People+ai is that kind of co-pilot model made in India for the world, with some kind of combination of human and AI. Let's just go a little bit deeper into the AI. What are you using? Are you using what vision models are you using? How are you
so
using
we are using a lot of framework, or so to say models, which are nothing but really training approaches for vision models as well as vision language models. So for example, we use stable diffusion as the backbone diffusion model, but then we have frameworks. One framework uses stable diffusion to train a before after photo and then be able to produce a furnished room. Another framework will actually train on just an image and a caption, and then with just the image be able to completely remove out all the furniture, like in painting, so on and so forth. Similarly, vision language models, we are fine tuning for different use cases. One, where you can just upload a photo, it will automatically identify what needs to be done in this photo, and actually guide you through the process. So these are, the kind of industry nuances that we are building in. We very rapidly evolved from a state where we used to think that AI is the challenge to a state where we now realize that making AI work for people is the real challenge. So we are now focused on that.
Yep. AI is a challenge versus making AI work for people is a challenge. I like that line. And it is very true. We're seeing that across the board. Just to capture a little bit of nuance, I upload a photo of this room or my bedroom.
Yeah.
It could be any photo. When you are getting it, you don't know if it's a photo of a bedroom or a person's face or whatever. People tend to be wowed by some simple face recognition. But just tell us a little bit about the complexity as to you have to identify objects, you have to identify colors, you have to identify a lot of things.
Sure. So,
And the privacy of people, there will be people in the photo.
Correct. So, as soon as you upload a photo, an algorithm runs which firstly determines whether this is a photo relevant to real estate, property. If it's not, you're given a media error.
Okay.
Then if it has any of the compliance issues, especially US is a very sensitive, compliance with fair housing policy and all. So you can't have anybody's face, especially if it is recognizable. If it is incidental to the context, maybe that's fine, but it can't be recognizable. And many times, people will just hold their phone and click a photo and there is a mirror and it will show their face or the window will reflect their face, right? So that's not allowed. Usually branding of any type is, usually a problem, right? So we have checks built in for all of these. There are about some 23 of those rules. All of those get done. If the photo actually qualifies, then we actually analyze every pixel of the photo to find out which class it belongs to. So what exactly is the floor, what exactly is the wall, which is the couch, which is the pillow on the couch, what color is it, so on and so forth. And obviously what kind of space it is, right? And is it furnished, unfurnished, somewhere in between, right? And then based on that and based on the kind of use case you have, the next set of AI models will now come in. For example, if you want to empty out a room, then they will automatically mask out all the items that are not part of the architecture. They'll ask you for a human confirmation. You can make any edits if it's made in error, but it's usually quite accurate. And then with a press of a button, a stable diffusion based framework that we have trained will actually come and in paint these masked areas and fill them with pixels in such a way that it is coherent with the unmasked pixels. But the prompts and the negative prompts and the training will ensure that while it fills them, it does not fill them back with furniture. It actually gives them empty. And so the end output is that it looks completely empty to you. And now that it's empty, we say, all right, now let's move to your next edit. Do you want to actually refurnish it? Or while it's still an empty slate, it's a clean slate for you to experiment with flooring options and paint options, and so on and so forth. So that's broadly what goes on behind the scenes.
So it's not like some thin wrapper on some GPT-4.
No. This is highly nuanced, especially because it is targeted, although anybody can use it, it's actually targeted to professionals. Now, these are people who themselves are highly nuanced and detail-oriented.
They're very picky, probably, yeah.
Very picky, and real estate and interior design, both are fields, you would have had a lot of exposure of realtors. They are highly detail-oriented, and they are very specific about their presentation, how it impacts their image, their, client's reputation. So all of that, and that is why the human layer is very important. In all of our edits, AI edits, you'll find a button there, have a human perfect this.
What percentage goes through a human?
Actually, very low. Mostly I have seen that people enjoy. Will evolve because sooner or later, people will not want to spend as much time on it as they want to spend on now. Now that it is relatively novel. But
well known.
Yeah. So we got to have that. Ultimately, this is not realtor's core job. So as long as heavy lifting we can do, get away from him is better for him.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So if we were to sit here, let's say 3 years later, and have this conversation, where would StyleDod be? Where would AI be? Where would this whole space be? What can you sort of wildly, in your wildest imagination, what do you see?
See, I think a few things really fascinate me. I do see already a very strong movement happening towards it in the minds of industry leaders. One of them, which I myself is very bullish about, is that I think AI will start making the integration of AI into real work a breeze, which is always the challenge in enterprise adoption.
Yeah.
Right? That they will not change any of their workflows. Of
They have
course,
their own Salesforce, whatever, so CRM system. Like
correct.
You need to integrate seamlessly.
You need to integrate seamlessly. And now imagine an AI integrating itself with AI. I think that is going to be a very big unlocker.
Building those connectors and so on and so forth.
Yes, especially there are so many low-hanging fruits, at least in real estate I know, whether they are brokers, bankers, lenders, insurers, home inspection companies, I mean, not just agents, right? So that is one very big shift that I see happen. The other one that also I'm very bullish about is I think for the first time in human history, or rather in product history, we now have the ability to actually have real-time intelligence guiding any user's real-time experience. Imagine a vision language model giving a different UI UX and therefore a completely different journey to you versus to me, because we are working on different rooms from different geographies with different families and different expectations and different days, right? Which is what a real interior designer would do.
Correct.
The same interior designer working for, two different clients will work completely differently. For the first time, AI actually allows that. VLMs actually allow that. They can analyze photos, they can think like a brain. Another LLM can cross-question their output and fine-tune that stuff. You can have as many layers of fine-tuning. You can still have the user not having to type anything, right? I believe that will unlock kind of experiences where you can have 1 million people having million different UI, UX and journeys of the same need. And not only is it great for customers because it's highly personalized, imagine the power it gives to product owners to create new conversion funnels like the world has never seen before. That is another big one, I think, in 3 years' time would definitely. So those are two big ones, apart from, of course, I do see a lot of low-hanging efficiency fruits getting unlocked across the value chain.
That's phenomenal. So if I were to summarize, what I'm hearing is step one is, AI systems by itself, what you're doing, reimagining homes is wonderful. Yeah. But in order for it to be scalable, it has to integrate into the enterprise.
Correct.
And enterprise integration is like a project, right? It's like a 6-month project.
Yeah, correct.
But AI itself can make the AI integration
smoother.
It can write connectors and so on and so forth.
Correct.
That's one big use. The second is, of course, the personalization. Right? A same home can be shown to, a Chinese person walking in with a Chinese appropriate furnishing at the Vietnamese or an Indian or a Caucasian.
Correct.
They can have 1 million journeys from 1 million homes, and each of them can be very personal. Yeah. And home is something very personal to us, right? We live there. Yeah. It's a very emotional connection to it. Yeah. And you can customize the thing that is absolutely suited to you.
Correct.
So I think that's a phenomenal use case. Of course, that gives product managers the flexibility to go and design different workflows, different conversion funnels,
differently,
and also design new products, right? For this. When you were talking before, in your journey, you had done something with Target. Maybe that's worth talking about.
Yeah, sure. So this was way before the advent of generative AI or even AI hitting mainstream. I mean, I think GANs were not yet popular. So we're talking of the era much, much before style GANs, before COVID. We actually spent about 2.5, 3 years, and we literally coded the brain of one of our co-founders, who is a interior designer from SEPT and NID, and created a rule engine. There's some 200,000 lines of code that used to take as an input the image of a floor plan, instantly convert it into a rasterized vector space, and then apply that rule engine to create hundreds of spatial design options, then populate that with the 3D models of real furniture from Target's catalog.
Nice.
That whole process used to take actually 10 minutes per floor plan. And I remember that finally in a 5.5-day production run, we, using a team of 6 people and our proprietary algorithms, we designed for 22 halls. That's 12,000 occupancies in New York University for the back to college season. It's good so that the students, and a very big trend in the US was that students, even before they come in, they open a registry, for their parents and friends to contribute. And then they actually look at the floor plans and where they'll be moving in and so on and so forth. So the idea was to integrate into that whole process. And it was going very well, the initial tests. And then suddenly there was no longer back to college because of
COVID happened.
COVID happened.
My son is going to college next year, so maybe this will be useful.
Yeah.
I'm going to change gears and ask you my last 2 questions. This one is kind of like a fun question, and everybody gives me a different answer to this question. But if ChatGPT was an employee, how much would you pay?
So there are a couple of things here. One is, I think, the true potential of an LLM or a VLM can only be unleashed if it can do the job of 1,000 employees in the cost of 1 employee. Right?
Okay.
That is number one. So clearly.
And where are we? 1:1,000, which is the ideal scenario. Where do you think we are today?
Which was the second point I was coming to, that now it depends on the type of employee and the type of work. So if it is, highly repetitive work, then I think it will be far easier to replace, an employee completely. But otherwise, it will actually only be used to improve the throughput of employees. So our employees, went from doing about 7 photos a day to now 30 photos a day, because of AI. So obviously that does result in us hiring less employees, right? But at the same time, when it comes to truly cognitive, creative tasks, I honestly think not yet. There is a certain thing in humans that goes beyond intelligence, which I think is very critical for a team's success.
Yeah, I think it's very important for the technologists also to hear that from you. You've seen millions of pictures of something like home, which is a very, very creative interior design, is a very creative activity.
Yeah.
One last question, Akhilesh, if I may. You've been in this journey for a few years now. There are many entrepreneurs out there wanting to start this journey. What advice would you give them?
Well, I'm still learning a lot every day. My first big learning has been, and this will be quite useful for people, is that especially when you're starting, do not be afraid to start with a model that will not scale. But if that is a model that allows you to truly understand customers, spend time with them, that will always form the foundation for insights, which later will allow you to scale the right solution. So that is my number one and probably number one mistake also I have made. So that is important. Secondly, I believe it is very important to segment customers narrowly and define that focus as narrowly as possible at literally every stage in the journey.